Hello YouTube and welcome back. We are once again doing a patch note review for the Bazaar. There's a huge patch that came out a little bit earlier than expected, right after the holiday season on January 8th. So for those of you who aren't in the loop for everything Bazaar related during the closed beta here, we had about a month and a half, maybe like a month or so, where there were a bunch of changes that were made in the Bazaar, and then the whole dev team, Reynad and all of them, went on holiday break, which kudos to them, quite frankly, for going on holiday break. I feel like anytime that I see a game development studio do that, I'm just happy that they're treating their employees like human beings. So good for them. But during that break, there were a lot of people who were like up in arms or getting antsy, or like maybe even not recommending this game to their friends because we were in this Dooley meta where, Dooley stuff got buffed and Pyg things and Vanessa things got nerfed or removed or bug fixed. And it left a lot of people feeling like every single game was just like Dooley with a monitor lizard applying 20,000 poisons to me in the first 5 seconds. So with that sour taste that was in people's mouth, I was worried about this patch. I wanted them to come back in full force. I wasn't sure how long they were going to take before they made the patch, but they came back into the office on January 6th, and then they dropped a huge patch 2 days later. So I'm like emotionally looking at the game development studio and how they're treating their patches, how they're coming back, how like the kind of changes that they're making sounds awesome. So that's a big prelude. That's where we are right now. That's why we're doing the patch review. I should have said this 2 minutes ago, but welcome to our guest who's joining us here, Concerned Mom. Hey buddy, how are you?
Good, how about you?
That was such a long intro and I made a mistake. I should have said hello to you very first thing. So, Concerned Mom, I just double checked. It looked like you were rank 37, rank 39 on the Bazaar Legendary ladder, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've climbed a few slots since other people are playing ranked right now and don't know how to do it.
The dream. So, I just talked to you before this Discord call started, getting to know a little bit of what you've done in the past. But before we like run through the patch and like take a look at everything, I want to know like who are you? What have you done in the past? And like what's your relationship with this game?
Oh, I play card and strategy games, usually at a fairly high level, and I stream on Twitch.
The dream. All right, so I do want to point out that you were a former writer, I believe, for Tempo Storm. So,
yeah, for their Hearthstone snapshots.
Yeah, which sounded great. So I don't think you're doing that anymore, but man, as this game spins up, that's exactly the kind of thing that I want to see more of. So hopefully it happens. We'll see. In any case, I've been playing this current patch from January 8th more than I thought I was going to. I've been playing it basically as much as I can. It is a tremendous amount of fun. So, excuse me, I'm also getting over being sick, so I'm going to try not to cough as much as I can. So, where do you want to start? Like we have gameplay changes, we've got bug fixes, features, monster changes. We've got like buffs and nerfs to everything across the board. What is interesting to you that you want to talk about?
Honestly, I feel like you just have to go down the list. Everything's like such a big change. It's kind of crazy.
Deal. So one thing that I really want to call out at the beginning here is there was a change to the skills, and like the skills for the most part are tied to you leveling up. So like that's when the majority of your skill vendor is going to show up. You level up, you get a skill for free. There are skill vendors now that are like randomly dispersed throughout your encounters, throughout your days, but they are way more expensive. They're like 20 gold, sometimes 40 gold for a skill if you're like trying to buy it outright. And like I really like this. One of my complaints in the past was it felt like sometimes you get to day 10 and you'd have like 1 or 2 skills and your opponent would have 15 skills. And it's like, I'm dead. It doesn't matter what their build is, I'm dead.
Yeah, skill numbers like being normalized is huge as far as like balance goes. I think the skills like themselves will probably receive more tweaks in the future, but the fact that everybody has access to the same amount is like huge for the most part.
Absolutely. So there are people who I'm trying to like piece together this statement in my head. There's people who are complaining like, how much RNG is too much RNG? Do you want like streamlined encounters where like everyone's getting the same skill at the same time? Do you want to be able to high roll? Like is high rolling something that ought to happen with regards to like number of skills? Or is that like somewhere else that it should belong? I don't know. Where do you fall on spectrum?
I think like as far as skills go, it probably shouldn't fall there. If anything, RNG should probably just be like I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's always good that there's some in the game, but that's kind of just up to the devs to decide where it's good to have and where it's bad to have.
Sure.
If there's too much, then it's like really hard to consistently get tens. But if there's not enough, then you just have people forcing the same thing every game.
And like Reynad doesn't like it. He doesn't like forcing the same thing every game. So I don't know. Anecdotally, I can just tell you that I just finished playing like 5 or 6 different like default core runs with Dooley, and every single one of those was like vastly different. And I feel like this smiling face of Reynad from the clouds is like, yes, my child, good job. Pivot when you find good items.
Yeah, he probably loves how the meta looks the first like week or so.
No, I mean, surely things are going to get streamlined as we play this game more and more, right? Like this patch will be solved in some capacities.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So what have you been doing? Like I don't want to go line item. We could be here for 3 hours, but what have you experienced in the patch that stands out to you?
I mean, there are some items that were like extremely buffed.
Do you want to scroll down there right now? Ooh, deal.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna link this in the YouTube video. You can read through all the gameplay changes, and I'm sure that we'll get back to it as well. Even things like, man, I wanna call out a few things so we just scroll past them. But Pearl's dig site being like you re-roll and like you randomly find items. Someone else had to point it out to me that it's free. It's a free item. It's an economy encounter. You can just receive the most expensive item and sell it back for econ. Like, whoa, very cool.
Pearl is absurd now.
She's great. She's also my wife, which makes me feel good. So,
that's good.
All right. So, what item stands out to you? There's like 1,000 items that have been changed. What do you want to talk about?
There are a lot of items that are like way stronger than they were before.
I feel like you're talking about pig items. I'm gonna scroll down there.
Oh, honestly, like I think every class has stuff that's like I don't know if I want to say overbuffed, but possibly overbuffed.
Okay. Well, give me something. Let me start somewhere.
I mean, Ballista is like, I don't know. See, Ballista doesn't feel like overbuffed, but it feels like pretty good.
Ballista. So Ballista's right here. It's a Dooley medium friend weapon, and it charges more than it used to. So it used to charge 1 second. Now it just charges 1, 2, 3 seconds, and it's crazy. I don't know if it's the best, but it might be. It might be like the best thing that you can do on Dooley. It is a tremendous amount of damage.
It seems like it's probably the best comp core build for sure.
Oh my god, I don't know why you do anything else with companion core. I'll tell you, like I'm basically a Dooley main, and I just really like playing it. And so there's a lot of things on Vanessa and Pygmalion who are currently like going infinite, and like they got like combos and everything's charging up and they're generating a bunch of stuff. And we were talking about this today. Item destruction is pretty good at interrupting those kinds of things. It's like, Ballista's really good, but so is Mama Sore. So is just eating things.
I was actually about to say, when you said that Ballista is probably the best thing you can do, I think that like the alternate comp core is just dinos because they disrupt things so well right now.
Just like big one, small one, both of them. I did some Mama Sore stuff on a default core, just like charging it up, kind of treating it like a force field, putting a battery next to it. Just eat things, just disrupt their board, try to stop them from going infinite, and it slaps. It's really strong.
Yeah, especially, I mean, even Dianosaur early can just be like so brutal against like say like Matchbox builds and stuff.
It's funny that like we started talking about like the items that are super strong, the items that maybe got overbuffed, and the first thing you call is like Ballista. Is there another Dooley item that stands out to you nearly as much as Ballista?
As much as Ballista, probably not.
I like Ballista.
Because I don't think he got any huge buffs. So one thing that does stand out as far as Dooley goes is that Alpha Ray did not get changed at all.
True, Alpha Ray affects your entire board as opposed to only the adjacent items, which is neat. I like that.
It's also still bronze too.
Yes, and I think it's fine having like its own unique identity.
It is like it's probably like miles away the best Ray right now. Like it seems like Dooley weapon builds are just good in general.
Yeah.
I think you can run it with any red core too.
I tried a couple ignition core builds, and I've stopped taking ignition core. Like it's fine. It's totally fine. But it's the kind of thing where like you really got to win by like day 10 or day 11 because you're going to fall off fast after that. Like you need to come out of the gate swinging and not miss a beat when you're playing ignition core. because you're
And
not doing anything unfair.
Yeah, Omega Ray being at silver is also like a huge nerf to it too.
Hard to get the build tied together. It's hard to get like enough, scrap to get your build up and running. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not into it. It's not a free win day one anymore. Oh well.
While we're on Dooley items,
Sure.
maybe we should talk about duct tape too.
Oh yeah, we can scroll down to duct tape as well. Duct tape is kind of a big change. Where's this
Massive.
one? Massive change. So in my list of big winners and big losers for the patch, I put this in the big losers section. It's a
It might
side
be
grade.
the biggest loser.
It's a side
honestly.
grade. It's kind of a different item, but it's a lot worse than it used to be. So duct tape used to basically put the shielded enchant on the both of the adjacent items. It doesn't do that anymore. So now it's when you use an adjacent, charge this one, and then the active ability is it shields and it slows for 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think the reason that it is so heavily nerfed is because it doesn't get the charge scaling like almost every other item that got switched to charge.
I had to double check that too. I thought it was going to charge 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. Nope, it does not.
Yeah, which kind of makes it like almost unplayable in comparison to most of the battery items right now.
I wonder if that was intentional. Like this might be an oversight, right?
It might. So the way it seems to me is that like that's the kind of nerf that they decided on before they decided that okay, we're switching 50 different items to charge now.
Yeah, that could be as well. Yeah, that could happen. Let's see. There's a couple other things I want to call out for like the big charge change. So in case you haven't read through all the patch notes or played a little bit, there's a big change this patch where things that were like when X do Y, a lot of those were changed to active abilities that charge when you do X. So like exactly like duct tape, right? Some things that were like kind of notable to me is like Armadillo. The saving grace of Armadillo being kind of a mid-tier item in the past is that at least it scaled well and did damage. It went 20, 40, 80, 160. Like it doubled each time. And now it just stops. It just stops at 60 damage. Doesn't scale up at all. But like it still, it still acts like a battery. It says when you shield, charge this 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of just 2 seconds. So we have like all these items that all of a sudden like they're not necessarily self-enabling, but some of them are self-enabling. And then even if you get like an enchant on them, they're basically self-enabling. And a lot of those are pig items all of a sudden. But yeah.
A lot of those for Dooley too, like the two big ones like Armadillo and Tesla Coil, both of them start at very high damage at bronze now, which
Yeah,
is actually like
true.
an early buff for sure.
Yeah, so I've been worrying a lot about like as a Dooley player trying to get like my day 1 and day 2 as strong as possible, not to drop those losses, right? Because as soon as you get to like day 13 or 14, it's just like pig infinite builds and I can't beat them anymore. So
Yeah.
I really got to win like day 1 and day 2. And Tesla Coil, it's a real item. It's fine, and it charges 1, 2, 3, 4 when you level it up. Like, that's a lot of charging based on like both adjacent items next to it. It's pretty cool.
I think Tesla Coil is one of the best early items right now.
Really, that's exciting.
As far as like red cores go, if you're planning to play Alpha Ray anyway, to like
Sure.
60 damage flat is huge on day 1.
I want to call out a couple other items that really stood out to me. Like we can talk about Monitor Lizard here, just like the bane of last patch, because admittedly it was an oversight. They basically looked through an Excel sheet, they changed everything, and they missed this one. So it was supposed to be changed and wasn't. What do you think about the new Lizard? Have you played with it?
I have not played with it. I've seen it a couple times. It is not extremely impressive.
Not extremely impressive. The Lizard to me is a stepping stone. It's something that you might use on day 1, 2, 3, 4, but like you're not really happy if you have it past that point.
Yeah, I could see that because it does have a large amount of flat poison, and it like scales pretty well. Just 8 seconds, like with no way to reduce it aside from haste, is like pretty rough.
I've used it with a default core, charging it. You have that plus Aiden on day 1. Like, it's fine. It's bad, but it's fine. It does something.
Yeah.
The other one that I want to call out is right above it is Chem Snail. So I really enjoyed the old Chem Snail, and I'm kind of surprised. We just talked about all these items changing from when X do Y, and like getting charged instead, and like Chem Snail was. The old Chem Snail looks like it belongs in the current patch.
Yeah.
But somehow it flip-flopped, right? Like the current Chem Snail, it's good because it has a 4-second cooldown, but it's bad because it's incredibly boring and generic. Like it doesn't have synergy with anything anymore.
Yeah, it's a very interesting change considering what they did to all the other items.
Again, it's like something that Yeah, it's kind of good day 1 and day 2. I like it. I like it day 1 and day 2, but I don't really like it past that point. I'm surprised to see Chem Snail like this.
Yeah, it's one of those changes where like it seems maybe some of these things in the patch were decided like maybe before the break, and then some after they had changed their mind on some things.
Sure. Let's finish up the Dooley items just because there's so many other things to talk about. We talked about Rays already. We're not going to talk about Aiden because he wasn't mentioned here, and I do not want him nerfed, so we're not talking about Aiden. But
Who's Aiden?
Who's Aiden? I don't know who Aiden is. But we can talk about cool LEDs. I did see some Reddit threads that were popping up saying like, "Oh, you people are complaining about Dooley, but did you know that the actual problem is not Aiden, but cool LEDs?" Because cool LEDs the active ability was a slow, and also when you use the core, you know getting another slow on top of that, and it was like basically free to include in pretty much every build, and I was doing that too because LED was a wonderful item. So yeah, this one got changed. It's when you use the core, you're charging it instead.
I think LED was like a top 3 Dooley item without question, and the new version, unless it's diamond, it feels pretty bad.
Well, so as a bronze, I kind of like it. Like, you just gotta slap it in the build. In the past, the bronze one was only slowing 1 for 1 second, and like having that baseline raised up a little bit, like I like that. I think this is a good example of where you can kind of like standardize an item and like let you scale it more if you go to a bronze junk shop, for example.
I can see that. Yeah, it feels really awkward that it's just not triggering on every core charge.
I hear you. Let's see. There's a couple other things that we could spend time talking about, but I want to call out Railgun. Have you used it?
No, I have not.
I don't mind it. I only did 1 run with it. So Railgun is a large weapon. I guess can I pull it up real quick? Maybe I can show it on the screen. But I'm gonna go like this real quick. I'm gonna use, what is this website? Howbazaar.gg. So Railgun. Railgun is this guy. So it's multicast 2 with a 10-second cooldown. It's a large silver item. And it says when you use the core or a ray, charge this 3 seconds. And once you get like, heavy machinery, get some kind of haste across your board, this thing goes off really quickly. The cooldown doesn't change, the multicast doesn't change, but when you're leveling it up, it goes 100, 200, 400. And like that with multicast 2, like it's still scaling well with an alpha ray or something. And the only ray that we didn't talk about yet is beta ray. And beta ray, like, it's kind of a shadow of its former self, not nearly as oppressive as it used to be. But beta ray, the fact that it's still charging off of using other rays and using the core, means like you can really get a lot of damage out of Railgun. I think this is a real build.
Yeah, I could definitely see it like with like the core as the core. Especially just because you can use that to charge your rays in your Railgun if you want. You'd probably just use it to charge the rays and let the Railgun charge the core though.
Oh, I would do that for sure.
Yeah. 400 damage a diamond is like actually a really good amount.
Sounds good to me. Yep.
So yeah, I could definitely see it being a thing.
All right, so a couple weird items. Like I don't want to talk about fuel rod. The fact that this thing is like has been enabled, has been added to the game, and fiber optics is still not added to the game. That kind of makes me sad. Like I want my fiber optics back, man.
Yeah, at least Arc Blaster is enabled now, and it actually seems playable in the red core build.
It does. I like it. Not bad at all. So we were taking a look at this Railgun image here, and as long as we're taking a look at the website, we see the enchants that are listed here. You see that shielded and restorative, the shielding and the healing enchant for these items, has pretty much across the board. I think there's like 1 or 2 scenarios where maybe it's a bug. Pretty much across the board, it's been changed. So when you use a weapon, its shield equal to its damage, and it heals equal to its damage. Have you tried this?
Yeah, like things like shielded pulse rifle are absurd with alpha right now.
So much better than they used to be. It's awesome. I love it. Yeah. So my very first
one of the
experience.
big changes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's one of the biggest changes, probably. I'd say.
Yeah, it feels like even just getting lifesteal is weird because you have more synergy if you just go healing instead on an item.
Yeah.
Whoops, wrong button. The very first time that I tried this out, like I was looking at my enchant options, I had a Ballista in play, and in the back of my head, I was like, oh, the patch note said something about this. I'm not even gonna check it. I'm just gonna slap it on there and see if it actually works. So I slapped it on. It said like shield equal to this item's damage, and Ballista gets like thousands of damage very quickly. And it's like, this is crazy. Holy moly.
Yeah, it's like quite a wild change. As far as the edge cases you were talking about, I want to say it's cores are the main ones.
Yeah,
Cores
that would be
don't
it.
scale. Like the red cores don't scale damage with those yet. It's like 80 flat still a lot though. So.
Oh, but I want the shielding. I want the healing.
No, I fully agree. Yeah.
It's like it's there. Everything else works that way. You know, kind of use your expectations.
Yeah.
I love it. Like this is like it's a big change. It's a change that like I'd be surprised if I saw it like on a live patch or something. But it's closed beta, and they're really just throwing things at the wall. I love this. I love seeing big changes like this, especially in closed beta when like your expectation is things are gonna change. They're trying new stuff. They want to see how things work.
I could see it staying too, because it seems like they really, really want to keep scaling under control.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of a few edge cases. So like if they do that, then it doesn't seem like too broken.
Love it. All right, so we talked about a handful of Dooley items. Let me go look at my my Dooley list real quick. Anything else I want to talk about? In my loser column, I wrote down Chem Snail with a frowny face next to it, and duct tape. Yeah, poor duct tape. All right.
Yeah.
So you play a lot more of those other two heroes than I do, because I'm basically just Dooley. Where do you want to go next? You want to talk about Pyg? You want to talk about Vanessa?
Either one's fine with me. Up to you.
Well, let's go. Let's see. What's the first one? We'll just see what it is. Skill changes, everything. Let's go with Vanessa. It's the first one on the list. So my impression of Vanessa is pretty funny because I played a lot like in the first 24 hours of the patch, and everybody was playing Trebuchet in the first 24 hours. Like, oh my god, when it gets to diamond, it's insane. Let's see, can we pull up Trebuchet real quick? Trebuchet. Yeah, when you use a weapon or haste, instead of charging 1 second, it charges 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. But the damage has been like substantially reduced. It no longer goes up to 200. It only stops at 50 at this point. So every single
10
Vanessa,
second cooldown now too.
yeah, instead of 8 seconds, true. But every single person was playing Trebuchet in the first 24 hours as a Vanessa. And now I don't see a single one. Like, it's homogenized really quickly.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like you have to be able to like upgrade it, or else it's just not doing its job.
So,
Which a lot of items are like that with this patch now, with everything switching to charge.
right, because the charge is so big when it gets to gold and diamond tier. So have you done any Vanessa?
I played a little bit with Vanessa.
What was your experience so far?
I felt like single weapon worked the best, because like single weapon isn't really that much different than before, except for the fact that now you have a lot higher chance of getting a Radiant enchant on 10, and you'll run into a lot less free skills along the way too.
That's a really good observation. Yeah, you can absolutely get your Radiant chat much easier. So I've been feeling like my my level 10 is coming like on day 7 or maybe on day 8, and that's way sooner than you can get a Radiant enchant in the past. That's a pretty good chance.
What was pointed out to me about that is the fact that I don't know if it's a bug or if it's intentional, but when you go into like Pip or any of those like skill vendors, you're getting an experience.
Oh.
Yeah, it counts it as an hour. Now that it might be a bug, but
That might be why I feel like I'm getting so much experience. Interest. I mean, I take experience pretty aggressively, but that would really add up because I'm never skipping those.
you're also guaranteed the opportunity to take 2 experience nodes on day 1. So like you can reach level 2 on day 1 no matter what now.
Which I do basically all the time.
Yeah, with the skill vendor, it's really hard to like not do it basically.
Really, really nice change. I do like that a lot. Let's see. So for Vanessa items, let me scroll through my list. I was asking people on like Twitch and Discord what they felt about Vanessa. I was asking like what's the best Vanessa item that you're looking for. So when I asked that about Pyg, I got all kinds of different answers of like how people feel about Pyg. But for Vanessa, people only said turtle shell. Apparently, every single Vanessa gamer just like turtle shell day 1. That's the only thing I care about. Cool, great.
Yeah, it seems like the turtle shell puffer might be like Vanessa's best late game build. It's probably less consistent than single weapon though.
Good.
Just because I've seen like people like try to force it and it feels like kind of hard because you need upgraded like puffer and upgraded like shell and stuff.
Oh, surely you need the same thing for weapon damage build too, right?
No, for Vanessa weapon damage build, you kind of just need like upgraded silencer.
That's it?
Honestly, like Crow's Nest, like you can upgrade, but you can get crit elsewhere too. Like you can, like if you just focus your upgrades all on silencer, it usually ends up just fine.
Really? You know what? I was thinking about spending one of these upcoming days, like playing either Pyg or Vanessa, and like learning a little bit of variety, learning something different. But yeah, maybe I'll do
So
that. I'll keep an eye out for
as
it.
far as the weapons go, like the weapon damage doesn't scale very well, like with level ups. So you kind of just have to get your scaling elsewhere anyway. So
Huh, interesting. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have for Vanessa items we wanted to call out?
the boulder might be a real item late game now too.
What? How, did it change?
You can get a gold now.
Instead of only being diamond tier?
Mm-hmm.
I think, were you the one that I saw playing with Boulder in the past?
No, I got beat by a boulder the one day I've played of this patch so far though.
It's quite the item. It like deals damage equal to like 100% of their health, right?
Mm.
And then
It just seems
crits?
like, yeah, like it's probably not as relevant against like the super fast like charge based builds.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that's like not killing you really fast can probably be killed by it.
Interesting. I kind of like it. Just anecdotally, I can tell you that I had a run with Dooley. It wasn't a Boulder run, but I ran into, what's that item called? Scythe? They deal damage equal to 30 of the enemy's health. And like getting this thing with like crit, getting this thing with a shiny enchant on it, with like multicast, getting this thing with like deals double damage. You can really like double the damage of Scythe really fast. And it, you know, it kind of makes me feel like maybe I would like Boulder builds too. Maybe that would be good then.
Anchor when it's at diamond kind of does the same thing because it's 50% max. So if you get like crit or you get like shiny on it, it's effectively a boulder.
It's the dream. I feel like we get way more enchantments now than we have in the past, which I love. I don't care about power creep. It's fun.
The enchantments are a lot of fun. It might make the late game like a bit too swingy, but we'll just have to see.
Oh yeah, what's the best late game build? The build that has more enchants on it.
Possibly.
I'm with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Also, Icy existing in that pool also makes enchantments really dangerous because you can just straight up get Icy on level 10.
Yeah, I don't know. So you mentioned that you get Radiant enchant more often when you talk about Vanessa single weapon builds. And another thing that we talked about is with the skill change, it feels as though people have fewer freeze skills. Like they might have one, but they're not going to have 4 different ones that are all triggered at the beginning of combat.
Like, one more thing on top of that is that they buffed Rapid Thaw.
They did, and it's awesome.
Start at silver too.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And like in the past, I would have told you that like I don't think that freeze is a problem. I think like freeze enchants are a problem and freeze skills are a problem. But like the only freeze item, like natural freeze item that was like maybe problematic was Beta Ray, and like it got nerfed, and like that's good. So I think a lot fewer people are gonna be complaining about freeze like a month from now. I like
like the most dangerous freeze items are ones like core or just like things like that have like a long freeze. Like anything 3 seconds plus is like a lot more of a danger right now.
So let's see. Anything else you want to talk about with like regards to Vanessa? Like I don't know, man. And literally the only builds that I see are the turtle shell builds. That's the only experience that I've got playing against it.
Yeah, it seems like it might just be turtle shell and single weapon is the only two. But I mean, it's early. There could be other things.
Hopefully there's other things as well. All right.
Ideally.
Let's pivot then. We're gonna keep scrolling down and go to Pygmalion. Have you done any Pyg dispatch?
I've played a couple of Pyg runs.
All right. Tell me what your thoughts are, and then I'll tell you the notes I've got written down.
It seems like Pyg is 100% reliant on like battery loops right now.
He is completely insane.
Like that's like basically you're just like trying to form together pieces of Exodia and then trying to make it go off as fast as possible.
Yup. So something like a crook build in the past, like Pyg was a lot weaker last patch, but I really liked the crook builds because they killed me a lot. And I felt like, if I was going to play Pyg, that's what I would do. I would get a crook, I'd get a flail, get a bunch of damage, and maybe late game I pick up a Caltrops as well, and just like dumpster every Dooley gamer that I come across. So I don't think that's where you want to come, or that's where you want to be with Pygmalion right now.
I do think Crook is still fine. I also think it's much more accessible because like last patch, the problem was it was very hard to find.
Really?
Yeah, because the tool vendor didn't have rerolls.
Oh,
And,
that's a great
and
observation. Okay,
he was your reliable way to get it
gotcha.
before.
And,
And they had moved it to silver too. But yeah, now with like the reroll change and just like all the changes in general, it feels easier to get Crook going.
Mm-hmm. Do you want?
Because you also have like quote unquote guaranteed level up upgrades.
Sure. Do you want to talk a little bit about like economy? Like I guess we're talking about Pygmalion, so we might as well talk about economy as well. How has money felt for you? Like, do you like are you rerolling stuff? Do you
It
care about like
depends.
some rerolls cost 2, some rerolls cost 8?
I think the way rerolls are now is good. I think maybe a couple different shops could be like switch tiers to like balance it a little more, but I feel like in general the way rerolls work now, like scaling price wise is good. It feels like if you take enough of the like loot item plus money level ups, like when the options aren't like that great anyway, when that are next to it, you end up with a decent amount of money usually.
I love the reroll change. So the last patch we had quite a few vendors that you weren't able to reroll anymore. Like the friend vendor for Dooley, you couldn't reroll it. Tools, no. Large items, no. It's like across the board, there's so many things you can reroll, and it really felt like you just like find 1 or 2 items that you can just like buff up, put all of your scraps on it, you know, like an ignition core build. You know, you put all your burn items or all your burn scraps on this one item. You never upgrade it because I don't want to reroll trying to look for different things because it's like, you know, I can't reroll. But now, I love the rerolls. I love the tension of it.
A lot of vendors felt like almost unclickable without rerolls.
For sure. Yeah, I like it. So Pygmalion, being the econ guy, seems like he's got a pretty good start with Bushel as well. So I wanted to call that out. I was asking people like, what's the best item to start with? Like, what are you happiest to see when you're like day 1, hour 1 as a Pygmalion? And it seems like Bushel, because there's even a new event that lets you upgrade your Bushel to like gold tier, or to silver or to gold tier if you find one on day 1, which is craziness.
Yeah, so if you do find the bushel, it's really good for that. It makes it so you can't hit level 2 on day 1 if you do take that though.
Okay.
Because the mushroom's always one of the 2 experience options.
Right.
But it's still worth it at that point. So my thing with Pig is like a lot of his items are really crazy now, and he has a lot of like Exodia pieces. But I feel like even though so much has changed, he's still in the exact same spot he was last patch, where he's like the best hero late game, no question. But his early game is very inconsistent. So anyone who's like trying to grind the ladder in the state it is in will probably like not lean Pig.
Interesting. Okay.
But I mean, it could not be that way too. It's just kind of speculation. But it seems like his early game isn't consistent enough to like be better than some of the like red cores. Like their early game feels insane right now, I feel like.
I like that. Okay. Well, maybe Weapon Core is finally back on the menu then.
It's probably the second best one. I don't know. It could be the other core. Crit core feels like the best red core right now for sure, though.
Man, I haven't done any Crit Core. What are you playing on Crit Core that you feel so good about it?
It's just the same build actually. Like Alpha Ray is still as good as it was. So like you just like play that with various things like metronome, like pulse rifle, stuff like that. Tesla coil is a lot more playable now too.
Interesting. I gotta try that out by myself as well. So when I was talking to people about Pig builds, I'm trying to get a feel for what they think about it. The consensus seems to be like, if you see a fort, you buy a fort. Fort seems pretty nuts, especially as it's a piece of disruption. It scales well, and it's like one of those Exodia pieces that you were mentioning as well.
Yeah, I feel like Fort was the same way last patch almost, because like any cooldown increase was insane against all the dualies last patch. But now Fort's like buffed, so yeah, there's like almost no reason not to buy a Fort.
Just the dream. You see this thing, you buy this thing, you feel good about it.
Yeah, it was kind of like Chrono Barrier with most dually builds, but there were some dually builds that didn't want Chrono still.
Right. Let's see. What else stands out to be about a Pygmalion build? Let's see. My notes.
Matchbox.
Yeah, Matchbox. is way more common now than I've ever seen in the past. What changed with this thing? It used to be just like a static item with no trigger, right?
Yeah. Yeah, now it's like just another one of the charge items, and it it seems to pump a lot faster than I'd expect it to be completely honest.
Yeah. So like it starts at burn 3 instead of 1, or instead of 1, 2, 4, because it used to be a silver tier. You get it on bronze tier. And I guess what's the idea with Matchbox? You just like you put this in your build and the rest of your items are all like healing, tanking, shielding, everything.
It kind of just goes with any of the charge on adjacent or charge on X items now, and you just like have a bunch of batteries just constantly feeding the matchbox.
Kind of feels like this is what was going on with Beehive, like when Beehive or when bees were still triggering off of every item being used.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's definitely one of the more broad charge 1x items too, because it's any non-weapon item. And since Pyg has a ton of other non-weapon items that are doing the same thing, they just feed off of each other.
What about the freeze builds? Have you played with those at all?
Like booby trap.
Yeah, like booby trap or like a snow globe multicast for each adjacent property.
I think booby trap was a lot better last patch.
Okay.
Now it feels like you kind of just would be better off going any of the other like charge item builds. Because I'm pretty sure booby trap only charges 1 second flat at all levels now.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad for a 6-second item.
So while we're talking about Pyg, I want to talk about my biggest feels bad moment of the patch that I've had so far, which was a single item that went infinite with itself. So I was having fun, been playing this patch for like 48 hours or so, and I came across somebody playing like a shielded bushel that was like diamond tier. It procced itself, it charged itself, and I was playing a Mamasaur build, so I ate most of their board, and the bushel by itself like completely soloed me. Oh, I guess it wasn't bushel, but it was bushel with the large item that says your heal items have multicast. Whatever that item is called. But like, those two items. Tent. Yeah, luxury tent. Like those two items like completely soloed me. I'm like, well, that's not an enjoyable experience for me. I don't know. Yeah. How do you feel about all these items that can be self-sustaining, like go infinite with themselves?
Skills actually have a lot to do with that now too. I don't know if you've seen the video that was on Reddit of the guy just winning a PvP fight with only a proboscis on board.
I've seen it. I have. Pretty disgusting.
Yeah. Like the way they change a lot of these items can be pretty dangerous. So it's interesting that they changed so many items to be like the charge when X happens, because that always seemed like one of the more, I don't know, almost design space limiting mechanics. Because like you have to keep every single one of those charge when X happens items in mind when designing new items.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that like the very first thing we said in this video is like they came back from winter break, they had 2 days, and then they dropped this patch. So like somebody must have been working during that holiday break, right? These are a monumental amount of changes.
They were also working for like, I want to say like a week or two after they announced that they were going on break. It wasn't like super clear, but they didn't actually go on break until the 23rd.
Gotcha. Yeah, but like, God,
so they were definitely working a lot before that too.
I like it. Like I gotta remind myself, it's closed beta. This is the kind of changes that they should be trying. They should be, experimenting with these things, see what people like, what they don't like, what people are enjoying. Like it's a game. Like it's supposed to be a good gameplay loop. Good Lord, there's so many changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good that they're willing to change so many things.
All right, I'm going to go down my list of conversation topics because I wanted to make sure that we covered the 3 heroes, which we have. We talked, I guess we haven't really talked about every single neutral item that's been changed. What's on your mind? Neutral items? Is anything to cover here?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the neutral items that also got changed to like the battery style charge when X, like proboscis is new proboscis is still definitely very playable. I've seen some, like we were talking about the video. There's some dirty stuff with it, with like skills and whatnot.
Let's see. Is there any item that I want to call out from the neutral items, or even from like heroes that haven't been released yet? I guess just for me, it's the enchantment update. which I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, nothing else really.
Loot items kind of got nerfed a bit.
You get them a
While
lot
we're
less
scrolling
often
past
too.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get them less often, and they were nerfed for the most part too.
Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 4. I was surprised at some point. There's encounters that you get during the day, of like, get 1 shield scrap, and I thought for sure it'd be like maybe 2 or just 1, but like it was day 4, and I like in my head on like day 4 and day 7 they upgrade to like silver tier, and then to gold tier, but they just didn't, because like they start.
Yeah.
A lot of them start at silver tier. It's like day 6, you're still getting basically a bronze one. It only goes up 1. It's like, wow, that is a useless encounter. I'm surprised it's even there.
Yeah, they're definitely still trying to tweak loot items to be in the right place, I think.
All right, so let's scroll up real quick. Monster changes. Monster HP has been reduced in a couple places. The octopus is even funnier than it used to be. It's got 8,888 HP.
Yeah, they buffed the octopus, but didn't buff its weapons at all, so it's still like a pretty free encounter.
Completely free encounter. I've heard people say that the Lich is killable, which I don't know. That sounds like someone's trying to give me kills.
To it on this patch, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to fight Lich. I'm gonna skip it every single time. Maybe I'll try it in like some normal games or something. But let's see what else goes out here.
No one actually gets to see how Warrior got changed, since now there's just almost no reason not to take Scrapper there.
Yes, you just take more experience, take more gold. Yeah. Why bother with Warrior? I don't need to relive those nightmares. I've excuse me. I've done so many bonus encounters this patch. I feel like they're a lot more common.
Yeah, it seems like the fight, the random fight event is very common now.
It seems more common. I click on it all the time. It also means like I feel like my runs take longer because I'm just like sitting there waiting for the combat to end. Because like, oh my god, I just finished one combat and now I'm doing another combat right now. But I mean, it's good. My builds turn out well, but man, it's so much extra experience that you get from all that nonsense.
Oh yeah. Experience is it seems like it's pretty easy to get to level 10 enchant by day 7 now.
Yep, that's my benchmark as well. We can talk about the economy stuff here. So in a lot of these shops, like Barcoon, Barcoon is the medium and large vendor, and he will buy smalls at plus value. Quixel is a small medium vendor. She buys larges at increased value. Does that change anything about how you're playing? Are you holding on to items differently?
You should be, I think. I haven't gotten fully used to taking advantage of it yet, but it's actually a really big change. And I think once people take advantage of it, everyone will be even richer.
Oh yeah, and holding on to your chocolate bars until the very end of the day, in case you can run into one of these and sell them all for 1 instead of 0. That's 5 gold. I need that money. I need to reroll more often because rerolls are possible all the time. Yeah, that's free money. It feels great.
Yeah, I definitely need to take advantage of that more.
Got it. All right, so let's see. What's the last things here? I think we're just about coming up on it, but let's go to the very bottom and see what else is going on with Dooley item changes, bug fixes. Any bug fixes you want to talk about? God bless Alpha Ray. Oh man, finally Alpha Ray.
Yeah, I mean that getting fixed is nice. There are a lot of bug fixes that honestly didn't even know were bugs. I don't think many of the bug fixes are actually that relevant. I also don't know what they mean by fixed a bug with critical core's crit chance not scaling correctly, because it seems like it works exactly like it did before.
I don't know what that was supposed to be.
Yeah. Motherboard is actually a big one that got fixed.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about as well. So Motherboard last patch, it said it gave damage to the core when you hasted the core. In reality, it gave damage to the core when any of your items received haste. So it was a real build. And now it works as it states on the motherboard, which means it's probably not a real build anymore. I'm a little bit more skeptical of it.
I can actually say it is actually still fine.
It's still fine, really? Okay.
Yeah, I've played it with crit core. I mean, it's obviously not as good as it was before, but with just a motherboard and a metronome, it still scales very hard.
Good. I'm glad to hear that because like it was cool. It was like a different style of play. Hopefully that still exists. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's definitely like one of your scaling options. It's not as good as man, what's that item called? Charging station, I think. It's not as good as charging station anymore,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's still playable.
Okay. Apparently, cybersecurity is an item that exists in the game. That's good.
Yeah,
Can't imagine ever using
unfortunately.
that. Yeah, what a weird item. It's a friend. It's a friend, and it hates friends. That's what my friends do. All right.
I feel like any item with that long of a cooldown that isn't like Beast of Burden is just like unplayable.
Completely agree. Let's see. Memory leaks, sounds, player skins, always facing each other. Sounds great. All right. So, who are the big winners of this patch? What are you looking forward to trying? What builds do you want to try? Like, what are you looking forward to doing?
I'm just looking forward to finding something that like can actually consistently get like 10-0s because there were no ranked ladder changes or anything, so you still kind of just have to play whatever the most consistent thing throughout the whole game is.
Let's see.
But right now, to me, it feels like red cores are probably that.
I'm
But
so
they
excited to
do
hear you say that. Okay.
they do I feel like struggle past day 10.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like everybody's getting crazy enchants and stuff, so you really need to win all of your early days.
You're really playing an honest build and just trying to close it out as fast as possible.
Which is it's kind of what you were doing with Ignition Core last patch, but Ignition was a lot stronger. So
Listen, I love Mamasaur. I played Mamasaur a lot like a month and a half ago, but not really during the holiday break because it was just kind of too slow against Poison and Burn. But like Mamasaur being on the menu, I love eating stuff. It's so satisfying.
honestly, Companion Core might be I haven't played enough Companion Core in the patch yet, but it might be consistent enough as long as you can like reliably get a Brick Buddy in the first 2 days because there's a lot less poison early and stuff. So Brick Buddy's probably even better than it was before.
Your day one on Companion Core is real mediocre. But if you can if you can figure that out, yeah, I think Companion Core is probably the best core in my experience.
I mean, that was a problem with it last patch too. Was that its day one was just abysmal in comparison to most people's.
Like, do you want to start out your run by going 10-1, or do you want to potentially go 10-0 and play a different core instead?
If you can find Aiden and Brick Buddy, and of course get your level up, then you've got an insane day one still. But
Love it.
I feel like that's kind of a high roll.
It's a high roll, but I'll still try it.
Yeah, Bomb Squad is like very nerfed at bronze and silver.
Right. But you know, Diamond tier, he's upgraded. He's cool. He's fast as hell.
It's very good at Diamond. It's just it used to be one of your best friends early.
Not
But
quite anymore.
now not anymore, yeah.
Yeah, so like for, I guess, things that you're excited to do, you want to find like more consistent build, go 10-0. I want to eat things. I'm surprised they nerfed Virus. Virus was one of the like pulse rifle items where like it had a lower cooldown when you leveled it up. And apparently that was a bug. So Virus is just 12 seconds all the time.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm never going to use that thing.
Because yeah, that item is like very unplayable at 12 seconds.
I'm surprised it's even there. So what about like biggest losers of the patch? So we talked about duct tape. I mentioned Chem Snail previously being something that like used to be interesting and now it's just very generic and boring. What to you, what stands out as like the biggest loser of the patch?
Like duct tape, LEDs, monitor lizard. Just like I guess everything you would expect to get nerfed from last patch. I feel like they did a pretty good job of hitting everything people were complaining about.
And you know what? First of all, I'm sad that they nerfed so many things in Dooley and I got so few things in return, but at least I have Ballista. I will say I'm impressed that they managed to nerf around freeze without like explicitly nerfing mechanically how freeze functions. Like it's still there, it still does the exact same thing, but like they nerfed around it, they changed like how many skills you get, they made rapid thaw, like started silver tier and like it comes up more often. Like these changes, and even like beta ray and whatnot, are like, God, it's so good. I'm a little bit nervous about what you said, which is Icy still being in the enchant table for day or for level 10. Like maybe that ought not to be there. Like let it show up at, you know, later days, whatever. But the guaranteed one at level 10, maybe it shouldn't show up there.
Yeah, I think it's still really, really rare because I've only gotten it once, but I was like 7-0 when I got Icy on 10, and it was just the freest game I've ever seen.
I love it. All right, so I'm gonna keep playing. I think it's only 11:30 my time, p.m. So why not? It's a Friday. Let's keep going. So I'm gonna call it quits for this here. We've been talking for about 50 minutes, and this will go up on YouTube so people can scroll through the YouTube chapters and revisit whatever topics we were talking about. For the people who are watching here on Twitch, I know a lot of them already know you, but the people on YouTube later after the fact might not know where to find you. So do you want to plug any social media, like your Twitch, anything?
Just twitch.tv/concernmomhs.
Concerned Mom HS. I told my wife that I was going to have a Discord call with someone named Mom, and she gave me the weirdest look. She's like, you know what? You do whatever you're going to do. I'm going to bed.
I imagine that happens to most people, yeah.
It was great. All right, Mom, thanks for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time, buddy.
Yep. Thank you for hanging out.